We brainstormed what photosynthesis was, so we're going to go through a little bit of background, and then we'll go into the details. But you have a very strong background already, which is a positive here. So, first thing to take a look at is autotrophs, or producers. This would be a phrase that you've heard several times before, correct? Okay. And an autotroph means that you can use the energy in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to make food. So essentially, you can go through what process? Correct. So if you are an autotroph or a producer, you can go through photosynthesis. That's what that means. Now, examples of things that can photosynthesize. Plants, algae, and some prokaryotes. What do those need to have in order to photosynthesize? Okay, they would need chlorophyll, often found in what organelle of the cell? Correct. About 10% of the Earth's 5 million species are autotrophs. And why do we think autotrophs are important in the food chain? Okay, so they're important because they give us oxygen. What else do they do? Different tangent, I think. They are autotrophs, but there's a different reason that they consume the insects. What's the other reason that photosynthesis is important? It gives us oxygen so we can breathe. That's extremely important. That is not the main reason photosynthesis happens. Produces, what did you say? Right. So it also gives us energy. What form does that energy come in that we mentioned on the drawing we drew a couple minutes ago? Pardon me? In the products. Right, so it produces energy in the form of sugar. Some of you, I think when we looked at your drawing, Mitch, you talked about the plant growing, so it would use that energy that stored in the form of a sugar in order to then go through cellular respiration and grow bigger and taller. Okay? Why is it still important to the food chain? Other than it keeps us alive with the oxygen. But in a food chain, right, so in a food chain, we start with a plant, then we have a herbivore, then we have a carnivore. And when we go through that, the reason the carnivore eats the herbivore is for the energy. And the herbivore ate the plant to get the energy. Where did the plant get its energy? From the sun. Are any of us capable of getting energy from the sun? Okay, we don't have the cells or the parts of the cells that would enable us to stand outside or stand under the grow lights and say, I'm tired, charge me up. It doesn't work like that, right? Otherwise, we have grow lights in the room, so you should all have more energy. Okay? So let's go back to the idea of a food chain. Let's make an actual food chain here. So, what's a type of plant? Okay. Cauliflower. What's something that would feed on cauliflower? Humans? Now, as humans, we can't get energy directly from the sun, right? We have to eat food that can. So we have to eat something that's a plant that can photosynthesize to get that sugar, or we have to eat something that ate a plant originally to get that energy. So we're going to get to a food web in a minute. So in order to go through and get the energy that we need, we have to feed off of plants, or we have to eat animals that are fed off of plants. Otherwise, we cannot access the energy from the sun. The energy from the sun is the basis for every living thing on this planet. If there is no sun and there is no photosynthesis, the food chain stops. There is no energy flow. Relevant question.
Yeah. What happens when we eat animals that only eat meat?
Where did, if they eat animals, so let's do a food chain like that. Okay. So what would be an example of that? What would be an example of a carnivore?
A lion.
And what does a lion eat?
Other animals.
Like?
Monkey. Oh, because it's eating. And then the gazelle eats plant. And the plant gets the sun. So it's all eat that.
So eventually it goes all the way back. Are we okay with that? Now, let's move on to each year autotrophs can make 10 times or 1.4 times 10 to the 14 kilograms of sugar, or enough sugar to fill a string of boxcars reaching to the moon and back 50 times. So there's a lot of sugar produced. Deep in the ocean, there are bacteria that undergo chemosynthesis or photosynthesis without light, and they obtain energy from inorganic compounds. So we will talk about chemosynthesis as one of those ways to get energy without using light, but only very specific organisms can do that. If we have a heterotroph, heterotrophs get their energy from? Right, plants are considered autotrophs. So heterotrophs are anything that feed off of autotrophs. Heterotrophs cannot make their own energy. So sometimes in an energy pyramid they're referred to as a consumer. Primary consumers are animals that feed off of plants, so herbivores. Secondary consumers feed off of, or secondary consumer in this example would be a lion. The gazelle would be a primary consumer, and this would be a producer. Did you talk about energy pyramids last year? Okay. So we've covered, they feed on plants to get their energy. We've talked about secondary and tertiary consumers. Now, let's go through and draw a quick food web, and then we can look at how the energy flows through that food chain. So let's say we deal with Saskatchewan creatures. So grass is a fairly common plant. What else would animals eat in this area? Okay, so shrubs. Could be berries. Now, what would be a type of animal that would feed off of grass, shrubs, or berries?
Cow.
So cow, deer, raccoon. 1 C or 2? 2. Now, the cow can feed off of the grass. Cows commonly feed off of shrubs. Deer do. Okay, deer would feed off of grass. Deer eat berries.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, raccoons, what do they feed off of? Berries? They feed off of everything, is that what you said? Now, what's a predator for a cow? Could be bears. Humans. Not like hamburger or roast beef or anything. Wolves. Okay, what would a bear feed off of? So it could feed off of these. Do the bears often eat raccoons? Probably eat some berries. Humans, they would feed off of? Cow, deer, bears, berries. Probably. Yes, I was just thinking regular fescue sedge grass. Wolves would feed off of deer, raccoons, cows. Just 1 second. When we take a look at the food web, I'd like you to circle the producers. You've got 10 seconds. Circle the producers. Should I circle grass?
Yeah.
Shrubs?
Yeah.
Deer?
Yeah.
Berries? So those are your producers. These are the things that are going to support that food web. They are the ones that can get the energy from the sun, put it into a usable form. Now, if we were to take a look at an energy pyramid as a quick review, this would be the producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. How much energy gets passed from one level to the next? 10%. So the 10% law is that of all the energy that they produce, 10% gets passed on. So if we think of this in terms of dollars, if this is $1,000 that we have at the bottom of the pyramid, how much energy goes to the next level? 100. We'd have $100 for the primary consumers to feed off of. The secondary consumers would have how much money? $10. The tertiary consumers would have $1.